The awakening signal. The monitoring station floated silently at the edge of what every species in the galaxy called the dead zone. For 300 years, no intelligent life had been detected in this sector of space. The humans had vanished, without a trace, leaving behind empty worlds and the mystery of an entire civilization that simply disappeared overnight. Technician Vexhai of the Centaurian Navy adjusted his 4 arms around the sensor controls, his compound eyes scanning the displays with practiced efficiency. Another boring shift watching empty space. The dead zone never showed anything interesting anymore. Just the background radiation of abandoned worlds and the occasional meteor shower. Then the readings changed. The energy signature that appeared on his screens was unlike anything in the database. It pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost alive, emanating from the heart of the forbidden sector. Vexhai's chitinous fingers flew over the controls, trying to isolate the signal. The pattern was complex, layered with harmonics that suggested advanced technology. Supervisor Krell, you need to see this, Vexhai called out, his voice carrying the urgent clicking sounds of his species. Alarm calls. Supervisor Krell approached with the measured steps of a seasoned officer. His experience had taught him that most anomalies in the dead zone were equipment malfunctions or space debris. But when he saw the readings, his expression changed completely. Contact Admiral Orcs immediately, Krell ordered. This is beyond our clearance level. 2 days later, the exploration vessel Pathfinder emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the anomaly. The ship was sleek and powerful, representing the best of Centaurian engineering. Admiral Korix stood on the bridge, his 4 arms crossed as he studied the tactical displays. The energy signature was stronger now, and scans revealed something impossible. Admiral, reported Science Officer Tylane, the readings suggest a massive technological installation. The energy output is greater than anything we've seen from any known civilization. Korix's mandibles clicked in thought. Could this be some kind of human remnant? Perhaps automated systems that have been running for centuries? Sir, the technology signatures don't match any human designs in our historical databases, Tylane replied. This is something completely new. As the Pathfinder moved deeper into the dead zone, more anomalies appeared. Ships that registered on sensors, but seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Structures that defied the laws of physics, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The crew grew increasingly nervous as they witnessed phenomena that challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission, announced Communications Officer Nextar. From where? Korix demanded. That's impossible to determine, sir. The signal appears to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. The view screen activated, showing a figure that made every alien on the bridge freeze in shock. It was human, but something was different. The person's eyes held a depth that seemed to contain galaxies, and when they spoke, their voice resonated with harmonics that touched the consciousness of every listener. Greetings, Admiral Korix of the Centaurian Navy. I am Commander Zephyr, Thorn of the Human Exploration Corps. We have been expecting you. Korix's voice trembled with disbelief. Impossible. Humans are extinct. Your species vanished 3 centuries ago. Thorn smiled, an expression that somehow conveyed both warmth and infinite sadness. We never left, Admiral. We simply learned to exist in ways you could not perceive. We've been watching, waiting, preparing for the day when we would need to reveal ourselves again. Preparing for what? Korix asked, though part of him already feared the answer. For the return of the Devourers, Thorn replied. They are coming, Admiral. The same entities that forced humanity to evolve or face extinction. In approximately 18 months, they will reach this galaxy. When they do, every species will face the same choice we did 3 centuries ago. Transcend your limitations or be consumed. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Corex's tactical training kicked in, analyzing the implications. If humans had developed technology that could exist undetected for 3 centuries, what other capabilities might they possess? Sir, Thailand whispered, if what they're saying is true, we need to alert the Galactic Council immediately. But before Corex could respond, the Pathfinder's sensors detected something that made every crew member question their sanity. Hundreds of ships were decloaking around them, appearing from what had seemed like empty space. They were human vessels, but they moved with impossible grace, their hulls seeming to shift between solid matter and pure energy. A new voice spoke from the communication system, but this time it was different. It was the sound of many voices speaking as one, a collective consciousness that somehow maintained individual identity while achieving perfect unity. We are the collective voice of Earth's children, the harmonized voices said. We speak for humanity as it has become. Admiral Corex, your species and all others in this galaxy face a choice. The Devourers consume entire civilizations, but they cannot devour consciousness that has evolved beyond physical limitations. Corex found his voice. What are you saying? We are saying that humanity discovered something during our darkest hour. When faced with extinction, we learned to merge our consciousness while preserving our individuality. We became something greater than the sum of our parts. The technology you see is not built in the traditional sense. It is consciousness made, manifest, thought-given form. On the bridge, Dr. Nova Chun materialized seemingly out of thin air, her form solidifying as she stepped forward. The aliens gasped as they witnessed matter reorganizing itself into human shape. I am Dr. Nova Chun, she said, her voice carrying the same harmonic resonance as the others. I was part of the team that first achieved consciousness transcendence. What you are witnessing is the result of 3 centuries of evolution, guided by necessity and desperation. Chan gestured, and holographic displays filled the bridge, showing the history of humanity's transformation. The images revealed the truth. When faced with the approaching devourers, humanity had made the ultimate sacrifice, abandoning their physical limitations to become beings of pure consciousness that could manipulate reality itself. The process is not easy, Chun continued. It requires the voluntary merger of billions of minds while maintaining individual identity. Most species cannot achieve this level of cooperation, but the alternative is extinction. Admiral Corex studied the displays, his military mind grappling with the implications. These devourers, what exactly are they? Entities from outside. Normal space-time, Chun explained. They exist partially in our dimension and partially in realms beyond our understanding. They consume the life force of entire worlds, growing stronger with each civilization they devour. Traditional weapons are useless against them because they can simply phase out of normal reality when attacked. But consciousness-based technology can track them, Thorne added, his image appearing alongside Chun. Because consciousness itself exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We learn to use our collective awareness as both weapon and shield. The implications were staggering. If humanity had achieved this level of evolution, they possessed capabilities that dwarfed every other species in the galaxy. Yet they were offering to share this knowledge rather than using it to dominate. Why reveal yourselves now? Corex asked. Why not continue hiding until the threat passes? Because hiding won't work this time, Chun replied. The Devourers have evolved too. They've learned to track consciousness signatures across dimensional barriers. They're coming here specifically because they've detected the presence of transcended consciousness. Our evolution has made us a target. And, Thorne added, we've learned that consciousness evolution is more powerful when achieved by multiple species working together. Humanity alone cannot stop what's coming. We need allies who are willing to transcend their limitations. Korax felt the weight of the decision before him. Return to the Galactic Council with news that would either save or doom every species in the galaxy. Trust in beings who had hidden their true nature for 3 centuries. Or reject the offer and face the approaching threat with conventional weapons that had already proved useless. "What do you need from us?" he asked finally. "Time," Chun replied. "Time to prepare your species for what they must become. Time to build the consciousness. Networks that will allow multiple species to work as one. Time to evolve beyond the physical limitations that make you vulnerable to the Devourers. And if we refuse?" Thorn's expression grew grave. "Then you will face the same extinction that humanity nearly suffered. The Devourers show no mercy to those who cannot transcend their limitations. They view physical consciousness as a resource, to be consumed." As the meeting concluded, Admiral Korax found himself changed by what he had witnessed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had not only survived their greatest challenge, but had evolved into something unprecedented. The question now was whether other species would prove capable of the same transformation. The human ships began to fade from view, returning to their dimensional hiding places. But their message remained clear. The storm was coming, and only unity through transcendence could weather it. Korax ordered the Pathfinder to return to Centaurian space immediately. The Galactic Council would need to convene an emergency session. For the first time in centuries, the fate of every species in the galaxy hung in the balance. As they entered hyperspace, Korax wondered if his people would have the courage to evolve beyond everything they thought they knew about existence itself. The humans had shown it was possible, but the price was nothing less than the fundamental transformation of consciousness itself. The storm was coming, and only the transcended would survive. The storm unleashed. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been in chaos for 3 days. Representatives from 47 species filled the great chamber on Harmony Prime, their voices creating a cacophony of fear, denial, and desperate planning. Admiral Korax stood before the assembly, his forearms gesturing as he tried to make them understand the magnitude of what they faced. "The humans are not extinct," he repeated for the 10th time. "They have evolved into something beyond our comprehension, and they warn us of an approaching threat that could destroy every civilization in this galaxy." Chancellor Vexnariov. The diplomatic corps slammed her crystalline appendage on the speaker's podium. "Even if humans have survived, why should we trust beings who have deceived us for 3 centuries? How do we know this isn't some elaborate scheme for galactic domination?" From the back of the chamber, a new voice spoke with harmonics that made every being present feel a strange sense of calm. "Because domination was never our goal, Chancellor." The assembly turned as Dr. Nova Chun materialized in the center of the chamber, her form solidifying from what appeared to be pure light. Gasps and shouts filled the air as representatives witnessed consciousness taking physical form. "I am Dr. Nova Chun, and I speak for humanity's collective consciousness," she said. "We reveal ourselves now not to conquer, but to offer survival. The choice, as always, remains yours." Senator Krill of the Reptilian Alliance hissed his displeasure. "Demonstrate this supposed threat. Prove to us that these devourers exist." Chun nodded gravely. "Very well, but understand that once you see them, there will be no hiding from the truth." She gestured, and the chamber's central holographic display activated. The image showed the edge of the galaxy, where space itself seemed to be torn apart. Reality twisted and folded as massive entities emerged from dimensions that shouldn't exist. They were simultaneously beautiful and terrifying, like living geometric patterns that consumed everything they touched. "The Devourers," Shun announced. "They arrived at the galactic rim 4 days ago. The outer colonies are already gone." The display showed worlds simply ceasing to exist, not destroyed but consumed entirely, leaving behind voids in space where matter and energy had once been. The entities moved through space like thoughts made manifest, impossible to track with conventional sensors. They feed on consciousness, Chun continued. Physical matter is just a side effect of their feeding. They consume the life force of entire civilizations, growing stronger with each world they devour. Admiral Orcs activated his personal communicator. Command, confirm the status of the outer colonies. The response came quickly, filled with panic. Admiral, we've lost contact with all settlements beyond the galactic rim. Long-range sensors show nothing. Empty space where 12 populated systems should be. The chamber erupted in panic. Representatives contacted their home worlds, while others demanded immediate military action. But Chun raised her hand, and somehow her gesture commanded attention from every being present. Conventional weapons are useless against them, she said. They exist partially outside normal space-time. They can phase out of our reality when attacked, and return to continue feeding. Then how do we stop them? Demanded general facts of the warrior clans. By evolving beyond their reach, Chun replied. Consciousness that has transcended physical limitations cannot be consumed. But the process requires complete cooperation between species, something that has never been achieved on a galactic scale. She gestured again, and the display showed human ships engaging the devourers. The vessels moved like living things, their hulls shifting between dimensions as they fought entities that defied all known laws of physics. We can hold them back temporarily, Chun explained. Our consciousness-guided technology can track them across dimensional barriers, but we cannot defeat them alone. The Devourers have evolved since our last encounter. They're stronger now, more adapted to transcended consciousness. Chancellor Vexnari stood slowly. What exactly are you proposing? A consciousness network spanning all willing species, Chun replied. Each civilization maintaining its unique identity, while joining a collective awareness that can function as one entity when needed. It's the only way to generate enough transcended consciousness to force the Devourers back into the void between galaxies. The debate that followed was fierce. Some species refused to consider joining their consciousness with others. Others questioned whether such a merger was even possible. But as reports continued coming in of worlds simply vanishing from existence, the urgency became undeniable. Sage Luminara of the crystalline beings spoke first. My people have always been telepathically linked. We volunteer to attempt this merger. One by one, other species began to voice their agreement. The choice was clear: evolve or face extinction. The process began immediately. Human consciousness experts worked with representatives from each species, teaching them the techniques needed to transcend physical limitations while maintaining individual identity. It was like learning to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Commander Zephyr Thorn appeared on the bridge of the hastily assembled defense fleet. Ships from dozens of species formed a barrier between the approaching Devourers and the populated core worlds. But these weren't ordinary vessels anymore. Asterisk, consciousness network is stabilizing, reported Dr. Chun from the flagship. We're achieving partial synchronization across 17 species. The transformation was visible on every ship. Crews worked with impossible coordination, their movements perfectly synchronized as their consciousness networks linked together. Weapon systems that had been designed by different species began working in harmony, creating combined effects that no single technology could achieve. But the real test came when the Devourers reached the defense line. The entities emerged from twisted space like nightmares given form. They were larger now, having fed on entire worlds. Their geometric patterns shifted through dimensions that human eyes couldn't fully perceive. When they attacked, reality itself seemed to bend around them. All ships, engage consciousness guidance systems, Thorn commanded. Remember, you're not just fighting for your own species anymore. You're fighting as part of something greater. The battle that followed defied description. Ships phased in and out of normal space, tracking enemies that existed across multiple dimensions. Weapons guided by collective consciousness struck targets that conventional sensors couldn't detect. For the first time in eons, the Devourers met resistance that they couldn't simply consume. "They're adapting," Sean reported, as the Devourers began to change their attack patterns. "They're learning to counter our consciousness networks." That's when humanity revealed their final evolution. Thorn's form began to change, becoming something that existed simultaneously in every dimension the Devourers could access. His consciousness expanded to encompass the entire defense fleet, creating a network of awareness that spanned physical and metaphysical reality. "All species prepare for full consciousness merger," he broadcast. "This is what we trained for." The merger was overwhelming. Billions of minds across dozens of species joined together while somehow maintaining their individual identities. The combined consciousness was vast beyond comprehension, a collective awareness that could perceive reality from every possible angle simultaneously. The effect on the Devourers was immediate. For the first time in their existence, they encountered consciousness that was too complex to consume. The transcended awareness of multiple species working as one created patterns of thought and existence that the Devourers couldn't process. "They're retreating," reported Sage Luminara, her crystalline form now glowing with the energy of the collective consciousness. "They cannot feed on awareness that exists beyond their dimensional reach." But the battle wasn't over. The largest Devourer, an entity that had consumed hundreds of civilizations, made a final desperate attack. It tried to tear holes in reality itself, creating voids that would collapse the local space-time continuum. That's when the true power of the consciousness network revealed itself. The combined will of dozens of species focused on a single purpose: survival. The collective consciousness reached out across dimensions and simply healed the damage to reality itself. The Devourer's attack collapsed back on itself. For a moment, the entity seemed confused, unable to understand how its ultimate weapon had been neutralized. And it began to dissolve, its form breaking apart as it was forced back into the void between galaxies. "They're gone," Chun announced as the last of the entities disappeared into twisted space. "The consciousness network has forced them back, beyond the galactic rim." But the victory came with a cost. The species that had joined the network found themselves permanently changed. They could still exist as individuals, but they now shared a collective awareness that spanned across their entire civilizations. "Is this what humanity has lived with for 3 centuries? Asked Admiral Corix, his consciousness now partially merged with the collective network. "Yes," Thorn replied. "The isolation of individual consciousness seems strange to us now, but you'll adapt, as we did. The benefits far outweigh the challenges." And he was right. In the days that followed, the species of the galaxy discovered that their merger had created something unprecedented. Scientific knowledge flowed freely between civilizations. Conflicts that had raged for millennia were resolved through shared understanding. Art and culture evolved at an exponential rate as different species shared their unique perspectives. The galaxy entered a new age, one where consciousness itself had become the ultimate technology. Humanity, no longer hidden, took their place, not as conquerors, but as guides, helping other species navigate the challenges of transcendent awareness. Dr. Chun stood on the observation deck of a new Galactic Consciousness Institute, watching ships from dozens of species working together with perfect coordination. "We survived," she said to Thorn, who materialized beside her. "More than survived," he replied. "We've become something that not even the Devourers could have imagined. A galaxy of transcended consciousness, united while remaining diverse." The storm had passed, leaving behind something beautiful and unprecedented. The galaxy was no longer a collection of competing civilizations, but a single vast consciousness made up of billions of unique minds working together toward a common future. And in the void between galaxies, the Devourers searched for easier prey, having learned that some storms are too powerful to weather, and some consciousness too evolved to consume.